Ever notice how life's kind of like always swinging between, good and bad times?
Yeah.
Today, we're going to be taking a deep dive into this ancient text
Okay.
called the Vigyan Bhairava Tantra. And it actually has a pretty unique take on finding peace amidst all that chaos.
Interesting.
Instead of always fighting against those ups and downs, what if the key is to lean right into them?
Oh, wow.
That's the whole idea behind something called the meditation on opposites.
Okay.
And trust me, it's a lot more interesting than it might sound at first.
I'm curious to hear more.
Well, one of the things that makes this technique so fascinating is that it really kind of flips conventional wisdom on its head.
How so?
I mean, we're always told to chase happiness and avoid anything that's unpleasant.
Yeah.
But the Vigyan Bhairava Tantra suggests that it's actually this constant resistance that's causing a lot of our suffering.
Interesting.
So it's like we're creating this tug of war inside ourselves.
Yeah, you could say that.
Always trying to force things to be different than they actually are.
Exactly. And all that does is create tension and turmoil within us.
Makes sense.
The Vigyan Bhairava Tantra offers a pretty radical alternative, though.
Oh, yeah. What's that?
Embrace both sides.
Both sides.
Yep. Instead of trying to control the roller coaster, we can learn to ride it
I like that.
with more awareness.
Okay, I'm definitely intrigued.
Yeah.
But I gotta admit, my brain's already trying to figure out how that even works.
Uh-huh. I bet.
So, like, how do we actually embrace difficult emotions without letting them take over completely?
Well, it all starts with a shift in perspective.
Okay.
The Vigyan Bhairava Tantra teaches that pleasant and unpleasant experiences are actually two sides of the same coin.
Oh, I
And
see.
they can't be separated.
Interesting.
Rather than resisting or clinging to either side,
Right.
the goal is to just observe both.
Observe.
Yeah, with a detached awareness.
So we're not trying to become emotionless.
No, not at all. It's more about developing this inner stability that isn't easily shaken.
I see. That makes sense.
Kind of like building a strong core.
Yeah.
But for your mind,
I like that analogy.
no matter what life throws your way, you stay grounded.
That's a good goal, I think.
Definitely.
But, like, how do we actually put this into practice?
So the Vigyan Bhairava Tantra outlines a really simple
Okay.
but powerful meditation technique.
All right. I'm listening.
First, you want to find a quiet space
Right.
where you can settle in comfortably.
Makes sense.
Then you choose a pair of opposites that resonates with you.
Okay.
It could be joy and sorrow, gain and loss,
Okay.
even something like connection and solitude.
Interesting.
Really anything that feels particularly relevant to your own life.
So pick your poison, so to speak.
You can say that, or rather pick your opposing forces.
Yeah, I like that.
So now comes the interesting part.
Okay.
You focus on each opposite individually,
Individual.
allowing yourself to fully experience
Yeah.
the sensations and thoughts that arise.
Gotcha.
No, don't judge or try to change anything.
Okay.
Simply observe with curiosity.
So we're not trying to, like, force ourselves to feel happy when we're sad
No.
or calm when we're anxious.
Nope.
We're just letting those feelings be there.
Exactly. The Vigyan Bhairava Tantra emphasizes that this is about observation,
Observation.
not manipulation.
Okay.
We're not suppressing or denying emotions.
Okay.
We're creating space for awareness around them.
That makes sense. I'm starting to see how this could be helpful,
Yeah.
but it sounds like it takes a bit of practice
For sure.
to get the hang of it.
It does.
Is there, like, an example from the Vigyan Bhairava Tantra itself
Absolutely.
that shows how this works in real life?
Yes. The text gives an example of someone experiencing intense anger.
Okay.
Instead of lashing out or trying to suppress that feeling, they're encouraged to simply observe it.
Just observe it.
Yep. To notice the heat in their body,
Wow.
the clenching of their fists,
Okay.
the racing thoughts.
I see.
And at the same time, they might also hold in awareness the opposite of that anger.
Oh.
Maybe feeling of peace
Right.
or compassion.
Gotcha.
Not trying to force those feelings,
Okay.
but just acknowledging they exist.
So it's like we're expanding our awareness
Exactly.
to hold both the anger and its opposite at the same time.
And in that expanded awareness, the intensity of the anger starts to lessen.
Wow.
It doesn't disappear completely,
Right.
but it loses its grip.
Okay.
It just becomes one part of a larger tapestry of experience.
That's a powerful image.
It is.
It's like we're zooming out to see the wider perspective
Exactly.
instead of getting caught up in the close-up.
Mm-hmm.
This is making me think about how I react to things in my own life.
Yeah.
I'm definitely someone who can get swept away by my emotions sometimes,
It happens to all of us.
especially when things get stressful.
I hear you.
So you think this meditation can help with that?
Oh, absolutely. The Vigyan Bhairava Tantra really emphasizes that consistent practice is key.
Okay.
Over time, as we train our minds to observe those opposing forces without judgment, we develop greater resilience and equanimity.
I like that word.
And in turn, we're less likely to be thrown off balance
Yeah.
by those inevitable ups and downs of life.
I feel like that's something we all struggle with.
Definitely.
So it's not about reaching some perfect state of unwavering bliss.
No, not at all.
It's about learning to navigate life's challenges with more grace and skill.
You got it.
Makes sense.
And honestly, the more we practice, the easier it becomes.
Okay.
Kind of like building a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it gets.
That's a great way to put it.
Right.
I think so. This is all really fascinating.
Yeah.
But I gotta be honest, I'm still a little fuzzy on how this translates into real-world situations.
Okay. Yeah.
How does embracing opposites actually change how we interact with the world around us?
That is a great question.
Thanks.
And that's actually where things get really interesting.
Oh.
The Vigyan Bhairava Tantra suggests that this practice has the potential
Okay.
to not only transform our inner world, but also our relationships, our work,
Wow.
and even our understanding of the world at large.
Okay, now I'm even more curious.
Great.
But for now, let's pause here.
That was good.
Give our listeners some time to digest everything we've talked about.
Makes sense.
Be right back to explore how this meditation on opposites can ripple outwards, impacting not just our own peace, but the world around us as well.
I like it.
So we're back and still digging into this idea of embracing opposites from the Vigyan Bhairava Tantra.
All right.
Before we paused, we were talking about how it can help us find more inner peace, even when things are, tough.
Yeah.
But I'm curious to hear more about how this actually plays out in our everyday lives. You mentioned that the Vigyan Bhairava Tantra says it can change how we interact with the world around us.
It does.
So how does that work?
Well, it's not just about finding inner peace, in isolation.
Right.
It's about bringing that sense of balance and equanimity into all our interactions.
Okay.
Whether it's with loved ones, colleagues, or even strangers.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
But relationships can tricky,
Oh, yeah, for sure.
especially when conflicts come up.
Definitely.
How does embracing opposites help us in those situations?
Well, the Vigyan Bhairava Tantra encourages us to see conflict as an opportunity for growth
Really?
instead of something to fear or avoid.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
So instead of trying to win an argument
Right.
or prove we're right, we should look at it as a chance to learn and understand.
Exactly.
Okay.
Let's say you're having a disagreement with your partner. Instead of getting caught up in being right or wrong,
Right.
try to see both sides of the situation with more understanding.
So instead of immediately defending my position,
Yeah.
I should try to step into their shoes and see things from their perspective.
Exactly.
Oh,
And
wow.
remember, this isn't about suppressing your own feelings
Right.
or agreeing with everything the other person says.
Right.
It's about creating space for a more nuanced and compassionate understanding.
I like that.
The Vigyan Bhairava Tantra emphasizes that everyone is operating from their own unique perspective,
Right.
shaped by their own experiences
Yeah.
and beliefs.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
So it's instead of seeing the other person as an opponent,
Right.
we're trying to understand where they're coming from.
Exactly. And that shift in attitude can really make all the difference. It can actually transform a potentially destructive conflict
Oh, wow.
into an opportunity for growth
Oh,
and
yeah.
a deeper connection.
Instead of pushing each other away,
Right.
we can use the disagreement to come closer together.
Exactly.
That's pretty powerful. And it's not just limited to our personal relationships,
No,
right?
not at all.
This can apply to colleagues, friends, even strangers.
Absolutely. The principles are the same.
Okay.
By practicing this meditation on opposites,
Yeah.
we cultivate a greater capacity for empathy and understanding.
I see.
We become more skilled at holding space
Okay.
for different perspectives,
Right.
even when we don't agree with them.
That's a good skill to have.
It is.
Okay, so we've talked about relationships.
Yeah.
What about work?
Oh, work.
All the deadlines, the pressure to perform,
Yeah.
the inevitable setbacks.
Yeah, those are tough.
How does embracing opposites help us navigate that world?
Well, the Vigyan Bhairava Tantra reminds us that stress and pressure are a part of life.
Yeah.
especially in the workplace.
For sure.
But it also offers tools for handling those challenges
Oh, okay.
with more grace.
Resilience. So it's not about pretending the stress doesn't exist.
Yep.
It's about changing how we respond to it.
Exactly.
Got it.
So imagine you're facing a tight deadline
Oh, yeah.
and you're feeling overwhelmed.
I know that feeling.
Instead of letting that feeling take over,
Right.
you could take a moment to just observe it.
Observe it.
Yeah, notice the tension in your body,
Okay.
the racing thoughts, that sense of urgency.
Okay, so we're getting mindful of our stress response
Exactly.
instead of just letting it run wild.
Yep.
But what do we do then?
Well, then you might bring to mind the opposite of that stress.
The opposite.
Yeah, maybe a feeling of calm or focus or even just a sense of spaciousness. You don't have to force it.
Okay.
Just gently hold that idea in your awareness.
Alongside the stress.
Yes.
So it's like we're creating this mental counterbalance.
In a way, yes.
Interesting.
By holding both the stress and its opposite in your awareness,
Yeah.
you're creating space for a shift to occur.
Oh, I see.
The intensity of the stress might lessen. Or you might find you're able to approach the task with more clarity and focus.
So it's like we're widening our lens to see the bigger picture.
Exactly.
Instead of getting tunnel vision on the stress. That's really helpful.
Right.
And here's another example from the Vigyan Bhairava Tantra that I'm curious about.
Okay, what's that?
The text says that even distractions can be used as a doorway to deeper awareness.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
Okay, now that one really throws me.
Uh-huh.
How can distractions be a good thing?
Well, think about it.
Okay.
We often see distractions as obstacles to our productivity or focus. But the Vigyan Bhairava Tantra suggests that they can actually be used
For what?
as opportunities to practice mindfulness.
So instead of getting frustrated when I get sidetracked, I can actually use that as a chance to become more aware.
Exactly.
Wow.
So let's say you're working on an important project
Okay.
and you suddenly find yourself scrolling through social media.
Ugh, that's me.
Instead of berating yourself for getting distracted,
Yeah.
take a moment to just observe that impulse.
Observe the impulse.
Yep. Notice the curiosity, the desire for a break,
Yeah.
the pull towards something new.
Okay, so instead of judging myself,
Right.
I'm getting curious about what's driving the distraction.
Exactly.
Interesting.
And by bringing awareness to that impulse,
Mm-hmm.
you're less likely to be controlled by it.
I see.
You might choose to indulge in the distraction for a set amount of time,
Right.
or you might decide to gently redirect your attention back to the task at hand.
Okay, this is really shifting my perspective on distractions.
Good.
Instead of seeing them as enemies, I can use them as opportunities to practice mindfulness.
Exactly. It's about finding opportunities for growth and awareness in every moment,
Yeah.
even the ones that seem challenging or frustrating.
I love that.
Yeah.
It's like we're turning those everyday annoyances into mini meditation sessions.
You got.
But I'm also curious to hear more about how this practice can change our view of the world at large. We touched on that earlier.
Yeah.
I'd love to dive a little deeper into that aspect.
Well, that's where things get really interesting. The Vigyan Bhairava Tantra suggests that as we get better at embracing opposites in our own lives, we start to see the world through a different lens. We move beyond those black and white us versus them ways of thinking
Right.
that create so much division and conflict.
Okay, now you've got my attention.
Okay.
Tell me more about how this works.
Well, think about the dualities that often divide us.
Okay.
Right and wrong, good and evil,
Okay.
liberal and conservative.
Yeah.
We often get so caught up in these binary ways of thinking
Right.
that we forget that reality is much more complex
Yeah.
and nuanced.
I see that all the time, especially in the news and on social media.
Oh, for sure.
It's like everyone's digging their heels in, refusing to see any other perspective.
It's definitely a problem.
Yeah.
But the meditation on opposites invites us to step outside of those rigid categories,
Okay.
to recognize that what we might perceive as opposite forces are actually complementary aspects of a larger whole.
So instead of seeing things in black and white,
Yeah,
we start to see the shades of gray.
exactly.
Okay.
And we begin to recognize the interconnectedness of all things. For example, the Vigyan Bhairava Tantra talks about the duality of light and shadow.
Okay.
We tend to value light and reject shadow.
Right.
But what if we recognize that both are necessary?
Interesting.
That without shadow, there can be no light.
That's a really beautiful way to look at it.
It is.
And it makes me think about how we often demonize people
Yeah.
or groups that we disagree with. What if instead of seeing them as the enemy, we tried to understand the forces that shape their perspectives?
That's a powerful shift in thinking.
I think that too.
And it's a shift that becomes more accessible through this practice of embracing opposites.
Makes sense.
We start to see the world as a tapestry,
Oh, wow.
woven from countless threads,
Okay.
each one contributing to the richness, complexity of the whole.
That's such a beautiful image.
It is.
That's like we're moving from a place of judgment and separation to a place of understanding and unity.
Exactly.
I'm really starting to see how this simple practice can have such a profound impact
It can.
on so many areas of our lives.
It really can.
We're back and ready to explore how this wisdom from the Vigyan Bhairava Tantra can help us navigate, all the complexities of modern life.
It really is amazing how these teachings from centuries ago can still feel so relevant today.
Right. Before the break, we were talking about how embracing opposites can help us move beyond, those black and white ways of thinking that cause so much division.
Yeah, it's crucial in today's world where we're constantly being bombarded with information and opinions.
Totally. It's like everyone's shouting their own version of the truth, and it's hard to know what to believe.
The Vigyan Bhairava Tantra reminds us that truth is rarely absolute.
So instead of getting caught up in trying to prove, who's right and who's wrong, we can start to see the validity in different perspectives.
Exactly, and that's where the meditation on opposites can be so powerful.
How so?
It helps us cultivate a sense of curiosity and openness, even when we encounter ideas that challenge our own beliefs.
So it's like instead of shutting down or getting defensive, we can use those moments as opportunities to expand our understanding.
Precisely. And that's essential in a world that's changing so rapidly.
For sure.
We need to be able to adapt to new information.
Yeah.
See things from different angles, embrace complexity.
I'm thinking about all the technological advancements we're seeing.
Oh, yeah.
Like artificial intelligence, virtual reality.
It's crazy.
It feels like we're on the cusp of some major shifts.
Oh, definitely.
And those shifts are going to raise a lot of questions
for sure.
about ethics, privacy, and even the nature of what it means to be human.
Big questions.
It's a little daunting, to be honest.
I hear you.
But the Vigyan Bhairava Tantra seems to offer a framework for navigating those waters.
It does. It reminds us that change is inevitable. The only constant is change itself.
So instead of resisting the unknown, we can learn to embrace it, see the potential in disruption.
Exactly. The Vigyan Bhairava Tantra teaches that every ending is also a beginning.
Oh, I like that.
And by letting go of our attachment to how things should be, we open ourselves up to new possibilities.
That's comforting, especially in times of uncertainty.
Yeah.
But I'm also wondering about the role of meaning and purpose in all of this.
Okay.
With so much change happening around us, it can be hard to feel grounded.
That's definitely a common experience.
Yeah.
But the Vigyan Bhairava Tantra suggests that true meaning isn't found in external circumstances. It's found in our internal experience.
So instead of searching for purpose in our careers, relationships, or possessions, we need to look inward.
Precisely, the text talks about cultivating a sense of presence.
Okay.
Being fully engaged in the present moment.
So it's not about achieving some distant goal or destination. It's about finding fulfillment in the journey itself.
Exactly. And that's something we can access through meditation on opposites.
Oh, okay.
By embracing the full spectrum of our experience, we connect with a deeper sense of wholeness and purpose.
And that's not dependent on outside circumstances.
Right.
This has been such a fascinating deep dive.
Yeah.
It has. We've explored how embracing opposites can help us cultivate inner peace, navigate relationships with compassion, approach work with resilience,
Definitely.
and even transform our understanding of the world.
It's pretty amazing.
And it all starts with that shift in perspective,
Yeah.
recognizing that duality is a natural part of life.
Totally.
Instead of fighting against it, we can learn to dance with it.
I love that.
Find the balance and harmony within the tension.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
I really hope our listeners are feeling inspired to give this a try.
Me too.
Start by identifying a pair of opposites that resonates with you.
Okay.
And just see what happens when you approach it with curiosity and a sense of playfulness.
That's key.
And remember, this is a practice.
It is.
There's no right or wrong way to do it.
Just keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep embracing the beautiful complexity of life.
That's a perfect note to end on.
I think so, too.
Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into the Vigyan Bhairava Tantra
My pleasure.
and the meditation on opposites.
It was fun.
Until next time, keep diving.